Right, I'm here in Leinster Rugby headquarters in UCD Belfield, and I'm joined by Felipe Contepomi, the Leinster backs coach. Felipe, thanks for sitting down with me. I guess we have to start on yesterday's Six Nations result. We'll get to the win over the Ospreys and the upcoming game against Glasgow this weekend in a moment. But the 24-12 defeat for Ireland and the performance that was, I mean, what was your immediate reaction watching that game yesterday?
Yeah, I think credit to England. They played really well. I think they were to another level, in terms of what they were showing. But yeah, it's hard, but it's always a learning experience as well, and the way it's going the tournament, it's so competitive that they're still on there in the tournament. So now they just have to get it right against Italy, and then probably go and have a massive game in France, and yeah, it's one of those games that it's always hard to play against England the way they did so.
Being a fly half is obviously a tough position, and the pressure that comes with kicking in front of a crowd such as Twickenham. And Johnny Sexton, granted, did not have his best day in a green jersey. He's had plenty of good days in a green jersey over the years. Probably wasn't his best game yesterday, but how does a player like Johnny get back up from a performance like that? Obviously, he'll be disappointed with himself and the team's performance, I guess, generally, especially in the first half. But someone like Johnny, how do you feel he'll react to that defeat yesterday?
Uh, John, if there's one guy that I'll put all my money to react in the proper way, is Johnny. In that sense, I've no doubt about that. I think he's a competitor, a natural competitor, and he's always trying to find the ways to improve. And even if he had a great game, he's always trying to improve on his game. Definitely, yesterday wasn't one of his best game. I'd say it wasn't a great game for him, but it's one of those we've been talking about Johnny so many times, or you've been talking about so many times in a real positive way, and having great games that he can allow himself to have a bad one. I think it's he'll bounce back, and for what I've seen since he came back from the World Cup and so on, he's in great shape, great form, training hard, and his appetite and he's hungry to get better and be a better player is still there. So I can't see why he can't have two great games against Italy and France.
Ronan O'Gara was speaking on Virgin Media Sports after the game and kind of talking about his own times where he might have had a bad game, and you might feel in the warm up even that you're kicking really well, everything feels good, and then as soon as the game starts, things can start to go wrong, and for some reason, and you can't sometimes pinpoint what it is, but place kickers sometimes just have bad days. But do you find Johnny is able to bounce back from the likes of that? Obviously, that's a difficult day for him yesterday, but is he someone that is able to, do you think, pinpoint what went wrong and clearly move on and take it into the next couple of games, obviously, and forget about that performance against England?
Definitely, and he's more than likely to do it in a game as well. He finds exactly what went wrong, and definitely, if you're talking about his place kicking, it's like, I think it's the easier thing to sort out for him, because he's such a great kicker that definitely something wasn't in the right, or maybe he wasn't in the flow for with his kick, place kicking. So he'll get it right. That's for sure. I'm not worried about that. It's just finding the way, and more so with his responsibility as a captain, so on, of putting everyone in track again. They've been doing or having steady step forwards. This one, maybe it was a step backwards in terms of team performance, but I'm sure they'll get it right next time.
From a Leinster point of view, then, of course, there was the win of the Ospreys on Friday night in Wales. 12th Pro 14 win in a row and 18 wins in the bounce generally. So things aren't going too badly for Leinster at the moment. How do you reflect on that Ospreys win? Obviously, from a back's point of view, especially, it was quite a tough game, and granted, the second half was probably slightly better than the first. But definitely some areas of improvement, I guess, to pick up on for Glasgow this week.
Yeah, many areas for improvement, and I think it's also a good learning games for the squad we've got, and the personnel that's involved in these games. I know it's around Six Nations. There's a lot of opportunity for players throughout the squad to lift up their hand, and sometimes It's tough because conditions didn't help at all. Same with the Cheetahs game. It's hard to play in those conditions, and the guys, they train so hard and they are eager to perform and show how good they are. But sometimes it's just you have to grind and get that ugly wins. Definitely we wouldn't be pleased with the performance, but I think the result was good, and now we need to keep on improving, because we need a better performance against Glasgow if we want to be on the winning side.
I spoke to Robin McBride about this last week, and he kind of said, look, it is Leo Cullen's job, but keeping players happy, obviously it's a province that's doing remarkably well at Leinster at the moment, and trying to get players game time is quite tough because the competition for places is extremely strong in every department of the pitch. Do you find, talking to the backs on a day-to-day basis in training, that it can be difficult to keep them I guess motivated in terms of knowing that there's game time down the line, or when they see the international players returning from camp, knowing that those guys are going to be thrown into the bigger games? Can it be difficult to keep the lads happy, especially those perhaps not getting as much game time as they would have hoped?
Well, that's an assumption, that the internationals will step in straight away into the. I think it's if the guy, whoever is playing really well and does it well for us week in, week out, it doesn't matter if it's international or not. It's they are all fighting or competing for that place. I think it's about I think between themselves, the competitiveness and the way they train and so on, that's what keeps them happy. And when they have the opportunity, they have to grab it, and those are the rules when you're in such competitive team. And they know that, and I think they enjoy. They're great competitors, so they enjoy being in that kind of environment.
And finally, Felipe, it's Glasgow Warriors this Friday night in the RDS. 39-24, Glasgow won the last time they played at the RDS here last April. Dave Rennie's obviously doing a few things right there. They've had 3 wins on the bounce, 3 5-point wins on the bounce, playing quite well. What danger do they pose? Granted, they are away from home. They have a good, strong home record, but what dangers do Glasgow Warriors pose this Friday night?
They are hugely dangerous. I think that they're one of the teams that in the last few years we kind of created also a rivalry, because we ended up playing some big matches between each other. And they are one of the teams that they play really good rugby in the competition, and maybe they didn't start it that well, but as you said, the last few weeks, the last few games, they've been doing really, really good, and they are one team that they wouldn't be scared of coming to the RDS, because they've done it before. They actually, the last time, as you said, they beat us quite well. So for us, it's a big test, and it's great to have it, and we are looking forward to that.
Felipe Contepomi, thanks very much.
Thank you.